In the vibrant heart of modern Japan, where the neon lights of Tokyo never dim and the virtual world intricately weaves with reality, a tale unfolds. It's a chilling reminder of the dark side of fame and the boundless nature of obsession. This is the story of a man, once the idol of millions, whose life, seemingly the embodiment of the boldest dream, transformed into a living hell, created by a relentless, merciless stalker. It's a story of tragedy, a sea of tears, paralyzing fear, blatant injustice, and the exorbitant price paid for popularity in an age where numbers rule. Our hero, a young, incredibly talented streamer, whose name we shall keep unmentioned out of deep respect for his memory. Let's call him Ko, a mere shortening of his online alias, known and loved by millions of fans, not just throughout Japan, but far beyond. Ko was a genuine star, shining brighter than 1,000 lights. His natural charisma, sparkling sense of humor, and unique ability to create captivating content captured the hearts of millions of viewers. He was young, just over 20, successful, brimming with inexhaustible energy, and always radiating genuine positivity. His broadcasts turned into a true celebration for the eyes and ears, a place where people could momentarily forget their daily worries and simply, truly enjoy life. But behind this bright, dazzling mask of a successful streamer hid a vulnerable, fragile soul. Ko, like many others whose lives were lived in the public eye, constantly felt the scrutiny of the public. He bared his soul to his audience, sharing every step, every thought, every experience, unaware that within this throng of admirers lurked someone who would cross the line, for whom ordinary fan affection would transform into something painful, obsessive. It all began quite mundanely. At first, there were ordinary messages from fans, compliments, well wishes. Then, comments started appearing, characterized by their intrusiveness, questions about his personal life, suggestions to meet. Ko, by nature a kind and open person, tried to respond to all the messages, not paying attention to the warning signs. He believed in the best, believed in people. And it seemed to him that all these messages were merely manifestations of sincere love and devotion. But over time, the situation began to change rapidly. The messages became increasingly insistent, with threatening undertones creeping in, and the letters themselves became anonymous. Someone began to stalk him on social media, carefully watching his every move, every new post. Strange gifts arrived by mail, and anonymous phone calls in the dead of night heralded the coming storm. Ko began to feel a growing unease, then anxiety, and finally an all-consuming fear. He increasingly felt cornered, alone, vulnerable, and utterly unprotected. The tension reached a critical point when a mysterious stalker began to track his location, appearing near his home at the most unexpected moments and even attempting to break into his apartment. Ko went to the police, but as often happens in such chilling tales, his words were met with undisguised skepticism. Law enforcement initially treated his complaints with levity, considering them nothing more than an exaggeration, a manifestation of paranoia. They thought it was just harmless antics, the whims of a fan who simply desperately wanted attention. Just imagine, the narrator's voice interrupted, their intonation full of drama. You live your dream. Basking in the rays of well-deserved glory, you have millions of fans. But at one fateful moment, you suddenly realize that someone has decided to take away your most precious possession, your freedom, your life. You try to protect yourself with all your might, But the system that should protect you turns out to be blind and deaf, unwilling to see the obvious. The police launched an investigation, but it moved slowly, like thick tar. A lack of evidence, the absence of direct threats in the messages received, bureaucratic red tape, and a severe shortage of resources all hampered the already difficult process. Coe was left alone with his all-consuming nightmare. He tried to change his usual routine, carefully concealing his plans, but the stalker always seemed one step ahead, like a shadow gliding on his heels. Over the next 5 years, Coe's life transformed into an endless, exhausting cycle of fear, anxiety, and despair. He was forced to constantly look over his shoulder, fearing for his life every single second. His work stalled, his relationships with loved ones hopelessly deteriorated, and his mental health was ruthlessly undermined. He stopped feeling safe, even within the walls of his own home, where he had once found peace. The stalker, about whom we only knew that he was pathologically obsessed with Coe, continued his ruthless campaign of terror. He used all available means to monitor his victim: social networks, geolocation services, surveillance cameras, and sometimes simply eavesdropped on conversations and waited outside his apartment building like a predator in ambush. He sent threats, leaving strange, frightening messages, and attempted to enter his home. He stalked him in the streets, a shadow clinging to his heels. Cornered by desperation, Coe began taking his own precautions. He enhanced the security systems in his apartment, installing additional locks and alarms. He hired security, ready to respond to any danger at any moment. He tried to appear in public as little as possible, hiding from the intrusive gaze. He tried to ignore the stalker, hoping that he would eventually lose interest, break, and retreat. But all his desperate attempts were in vain. The stalking intensified with each passing day, turning Coe's life into a real nightmare. The police finally began to realize the seriousness of the situation. Additional measures were taken to protect Coe, but alas, it was already too late. The stalker escalated their actions, becoming more audacious and aggressive. One night, when Coe was alone in his apartment, the stalker managed to break in. What happened next was left to speculation. One thing was clear: a cruel and senseless tragedy had occurred, deeply shocking everyone. Coe was found dead. News of his demise, like an icy wind, swept across the nation, plunging it into shock and confusion. The news of the tragedy spread instantly throughout the world. Millions of fans were devastated, consumed by grief and despair. Thousands of posts filled with condolences and heartfelt sorrow appeared on social media. Society was outraged by the blatant incompetence of the police, who had failed to ensure the safety of a person they were sworn to protect. The police immediately launched an investigation into the brutal murder, which soon led to the arrest of a suspect. This individual had been stalking Coe for 5 years. The young man, obsessed with his idol, suffered from a mental disorder and was fanatically devoted to his ideal. He claimed his actions were solely driven by love and an overwhelming desire to be near him. The trial of Coe's murderer reverberated throughout Japan, becoming one of the most high-profile cases in history. In the courtroom, illuminated by a cold light, witness testimonies were read, and numerous pieces of evidence were presented, gradually revealing the nightmarish picture of the stalking. The accused seemed to feel no remorse. He continued to insist that he only wanted to help Ko, to protect him from the cruel, as he put it, evil world. The court's verdict was harsh: life imprisonment. But even this punishment could not bring Ko back to life. The tragedy left a deep wound in the hearts of millions of people. She became a brutal reminder of the dark side of fame, the treachery of obsession, and how the boundless world of the internet could harbor not only the joy of communication and entertainment, but also deadly danger. Personally, I find it difficult to imagine, the narrator said thoughtfully, how one can turn a bright feeling of love into chilling hatred, sincere devotion into a painful obsession, and a dream into a nightmare. But this story vividly demonstrates that even this is possible. It teaches us to be vigilant, always remain wary, to be able to recognize hidden threats, and never be afraid to reach out for help. After Ko's tragic death, fierce debates erupted in Japan about tightening legislation in the field of stalking and protecting the victims of cybercrimes. The voice of the public, shocked by what had happened, grew louder. Many people, silent until then, now openly spoke about the problem of harassment and its destructive consequences. The need to take more effective measures to protect victims was discussed. Ko's story became a bitter reminder for all those who live in the public space, who share their lives on the internet, who strive for fame. It warned that one should be extremely careful, vigilant, and carefully guard one's personal life from those who might use one's popularity for selfish purposes. But even more importantly, this tragic tale highlighted the urgent need for empathy and support for those who fall victim to stalking. It served as a reminder that victims desperately need our protection, understanding, and help. They need us to believe them, to not shy away from discussing the issue, and to do everything we can to prevent similar tragedies from happening again in the future. Finally, the question that tormented many, including myself, was this: how many more such tragedies must occur before we finally realize that stalking isn't just a harmless pastime, but a real, deadly threat that can lead to irreparable consequences? How many more lives must be shattered? How many hearts must be broken before we finally learn to protect one another? In memory of Ko and all the victims of stalking, let us remember this story and do everything possible to prevent this nightmare from recurring. Because only together, hand in hand, can we make this world a little safer. Together, we will overcome any obstacles, erase the boundaries of fear and uncertainty. Only by uniting our efforts can we build a future where peace and tranquility reign.